everybody. It's Jake Gino, host Jake Gino podcast with my co-host, a multi-family mentor, the coach, chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
Always making it happen, big man. Today's guest is the founder of 360 Real Estate University, an organization helping average Americans, like the people in Vegas, learn how to build wealth through healthy financial habits and unique real estate strategies. So without further ado, the money queen, Jacqueline Matoza, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. It's nice to be here.
Hey, it is our pleasure. Usually I'd ask you, hey, tell us about your background and everything like that. But the money queen, that's amazing. Where did the money queen come from? Was that like, someone gave that to you after you spiked the ball in someone's face in the end zone and did a dance, or where are you getting that?
Yeah, from? JT Fox and his team named me.
Excellent.
It's stuck ever since. I don't know.
That's about it.
Yeah. So
okay. Well, tell us about yourself and how you got started then.
Yeah, I can explain it. You asked me who I was named by, so JT Fox and his crew. So basically I started in real estate when I was 22. At the same time, I started a certified public accounting career, and I worked at Ernst & Young.
In Vegas?
No, I was in California.
Okay, gotcha.
The Bay Area, yes. So I just learned how to do tax planning. I did international tax planning for 15 years, working with the Fortune 25, the baby incubator companies that we were IPOing, and also doing all the mergers and acquisitions that are necessary in order for these big conglomerates to keep growing and eat out their competition. And so that's pretty much what we were doing. And I realized during COVID, I was like, there's a lot of mom and pop shops closing, and they really why can Walt Disney stay open for 2 years and not close? They closed every single park for 2 years, and they didn't have any issues.
They were closed for 2 years?
Yes. And they paid all their employees. They laid no one off, and they paid for daycare. They paid for everything that was all of their benefits. And how can companies like that stay open, but yet mom and pop shops can't?
They got a stockpile of cash.
Life insurance.
Oh.
They use life insurance. Yeah. So I roundabout was like, okay, you know what? I need to teach people how to bulletproof their finances. I need to rebuild the middle class that I've outsourced and taken out of the United States for tax purposes. And I just kind of went on a mission and realized that a lot of CPAs that are doing all of the tax planning, or tax returns, I should say, for everyday people, they're forcing everyone into S corporations. Yet publicly traded companies, they make 2/3 of the GDP, and they're only paying 10% of the Treasury Department's revenue. So why is that? Because they're using C corporations. And so I realized really quickly, there's something serious. And we had massive tax reform in 2017 that a lot of CPAs have completely missed and lost sight of. And so I kind of went on a mission to help self-made millionaires. Ironically, most of my clients are Gen Zers. I'm super bullish on Gen Zers, multi-million-dollar companies. And that's what I do. So, and then I decided to educate, help them educate in different real estate strategies, because you can't build wealth without real estate. That's just the facts of life. But a lot of real estate people don't realize that they are actually foregoing a lot of wealth because they're not reinvesting. And sometimes if they're wholesalers or flippers, they're paying taxes. And so we want to get their systems bulletproof. And so I work with them to basically do what we did for the large multinational companies and the large billionaires that
I'm so confused right now, Gino. Bring clarity to all this.
Jake, I will. Give me 1 second, and I'll clear your mind. I will bring some enlightenment to you,
He's going en vogue. He's going to free my mind, and the rest will follow. Yeah, I listen to 90s hip hop. All right.
So, Jake, I writing
solve money problems.
Yes, exactly. I'm writing a book called Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy, and I'm speaking Jacqueline's language right now, because we need people. Financial intelligence can change the world for the better. Right now, we have a lot of idiots and morons who have, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but
he went dark real quick.
Because you know why? Because they just opt out and they're victims. They don't understand the system. You need to build a foundation. That's the first part of money. Dave Ramsey is great for about 90% of this population. That's where you need to start. But that's not where you need to end. You start with Dave Ramsey, then you graduate your way to people like Jake and Gino and Jacqueline. Don't start these strategies, yes, until you have the relationship with money. People don't have a relationship with money. They don't understand their relationship with money. They don't know their money persona. They don't know whether they're spenders or savers. They They have to understand that first before you go out and invest your money and buy a deal. Jacqueline, let's go through the entire process of somebody who is a neophyte, a beginner, has no idea about money, but wants to learn. Then you're building the foundation. And then once you have the foundation, how do you take that person to the next level to start growing their wealth?
Ooh, great question. I've
I'll
actually never
answer
been
it.
asked this question. Go
It's
ahead.
called The Richest Man in Babylon.
I love that book. That's actually what started me down this journey. That was my first money
The
book
best
that I
book
read.
ever.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, so basically, first and foremost, you have to make money before you can save money, right? I've had people are like, "Oh my God, I paid 20 grand in taxes." I'm like, yeah, "Okay, I can wash that out with one move, without buying a car," right? A lot of people buy cars, they buy things that are going down in money, and so I think you have to understand, like in America, even as a CPA in my bachelor's degree in accounting and my master's in tax, we didn't learn these things. Okay, so we are not, there's a reason the top 1% are keeping this and they're harboring it, because it's what keeps them from growing and growing and growing and getting further ahead. And so, they teach their kids this. You see Grant Cardone with his daughters, and they're already investing in multifamily deals. And so it's one of those things. Number one, you got to have money. How do you have money? You make money, you start a business, you get a high paying job, you do something as a cash cow. You need a cash cow. And so that's like step 0, right? And then from there, in order to scale step 0, you have to really understand your mindset, right? So I'd say step 2 is really working on your abundance mindset. And, a lot of people want to talk about manifesting and this and that, but I got a lecture from a billionaire client, and it was super fascinating about how humans are molecules. You're either electrons, neutrons, or protons. Pick what you want to be. Protons will always win because everyone wants to be around a proton. Electrons circulate them, neutrons latch onto them, protons attract other protons. And so you really got to work on your magnetic field and being very congruent with who you are and getting
Sounds like the Power Rangers.
Yes. But the clearer you are and the clearer you understand your relationship with money, to what Gino was saying earlier, you really can't, you harbor it, you pinch it. And when you hold on to something really tight, it escapes you. It runs away, right? If you chase it, it runs. And money is very fickle. It's like a really bad girlfriend. They want to spend it.
That's what Gino was like in his younger days. Women would just try to hold him down and he would run. And it was like, you got to let me breathe, baby. He's like a fine wine. He said it's still happening now.
I tell everybody, it's like that girl you want to date, or that guy you want to date. And you're just like, hey, you can't get him, and then you got to keep it. That's the hardest thing, is keeping what you want. And so from there, then you can really, engage with somebody. Once you're paying about, $250,000 to $500,000, depending if you're married or not, then you really, if that's your net operating income, then you want to start engaging somebody like me who can start to chip away and zero that out. We do mainly deductions that are investments. So, oil and gas, real estate. We're doing things where you're going to be getting your money back, and you're not just putting it in a tank and like losing it. A lot of my clients, they understand, okay, a 401k is a 401k. They put over millions, multi-millions away a year. They are self-employed, so we put multi-millions away in an 831B health plan, right? Because what happens if, you get hit by a bus and then your family has health issues and you're gone, right? You want to make sure everybody still has access to that kind of captive insurance program. And, all of these things, life insurance and stuff like that, is so vital and critical. It's the boring, safe assets, that nobody thinks is sexy. Everyone's like, oh, I can get rich quick on real estate. There's no get rich quick. There's persistence, there's discipline, there's consistency, and there's understanding your why. And if you don't understand that why, you really can't go anywhere, because your why has to be bigger than you. It has to be about your purpose. And a lot of people right now, to Gino's point, they don't understand what their purpose is on earth and what they're here for, and, how they can impact people. They want to impact, but they don't know how.
Jake, I'm going to recap this for you and for the listeners, because there's really a lot of wisdom in what Jacqueline's talking about. The first step is you need to make money. You need to go out there and you need to create, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's your business, whether it's buying a business, you need to create capital. You need to create income. The second step, I think, is you need to save that money. Not to save money for a rainy day. You need to save that money to buy an asset that will pay for that rainy day and continue to pay for that rainy day. And that's what you're talking about, the mindset. Shifting over to the mindset right now from the scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset. And the scarcity mindset says, save. I'm going to save for retirement. I'm going to save for college. The abundance mindset says, I'm going to save to buy an asset for those events. And I'm also going to save money to create impact. The next step is the passion and the energy, understanding what you were put on this earth for. It's not just to make money. It's to really be focused on what you were created for. And if you can gravitate towards that ultimately, whether it's buying multifamily, whether it's helping somebody, whether it's becoming the money queen, whatever that is, you'll show up differently. And then all of a sudden you'll be creating and attracting, as I like to say, more happy money. And the more happy money you create, to me, you create a much happier family. And then all of a sudden you can start understanding that legacy component is not just the financial component of legacy. We're also talking about the values-based component. I don't want to leave just money to my children. I want to be able to leave a legacy of values and a legacy of commitment to the next generation and a legacy of what I've learned throughout my life, pass it down to them. How do we do that? You have to start with that foundation. Jacqueline, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think that's a great summary of it, and I think you also, it's not linear. Nothing in life is ever
Yes.
linear. I look at life more as like Venn diagrams. You're going to have some overlap and you're going to have some times where you've got to mesh it all together. And sometimes, this is where awareness and mindset comes together. You got to really focus on, okay, I have an opportunity. I have a lump sum of cash. What do I do with it? Right. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's put it for tax savings. Sometimes it's, take a little bit bigger risk. And so it's just there's no perfect answer. It's an Rubik's Cube, where it's a 5D combination, but it's persistence. And I tell people, you just got to keep going, and you can't think about, what your number is in your bank account. Don't look at it. I used to hide money for myself and I never looked at it. I just parked half my paycheck away in a bank account I couldn't access, and I didn't download the app. I didn't do any of it, and I had to call to get the money out. It was brutal.
So you're Amy the avoider. That's your persona. You are actually avoiding the problem. You're avoiding money, which is very typical of a lot of people. Their relationship with
When
money
I
is they're
started,
afraid of
yeah.
money. Yes. So Jake is giving me the finger here, but I'm gonna ask Jake a question, and I'm gonna have Jake eloquently explain to you our process and our framework. Well, actually, our idea of baby money soldiers, because I think this is the foundation of talking about money in a way that people can relate to. So Jake, take it away. What's your idea of
Well,
a baby money
it's
soldier?
so creepy that you're asking me this, because that's why I was giving you the finger, because
Okay.
I thought you were both saying some really nice things, but you were missing the point. So I'm going to say something very controversial here.
Ooh.
And I think I'm going to put it on you too, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, I think you're pro-life right now. Okay? And we're going to get really, really political with this. Gino, I think you're pro-life right now. I think I'm pro-life. Okay? And we want to shut down 60% of America right now. Okay? That's the goal of this.
Okay.
So what do I mean by this? Baby money soldiers, you need to procreate. You cannot be killing your kids, okay? When it comes to money, money needs to make money, have baby money soldiers so they can go out and earn, and then they need to have baby money soldiers, and on and on and on. And that's what I think we're missing so far in this talk, is that you said you were saving 50% of your paycheck, Jacqueline, or something like that?
When I started, yeah.
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 So you're putting in a bank account. Hopefully that was a high yield, interest bearing account that was procreating, and it was making baby money soldiers, right? And so those baby money soldiers that it was making, now the army's getting bigger, and then they can go out and take over territories such as real estate. Then the beautiful thing about real estate is we're saving even more baby money soldiers, because hopefully we're doing cost segregation. Okay. Hopefully we're able to refi money to amplify and accelerate the money as well, and getting a dividend, which we're not getting in the stock market, to your point. So we're getting immediate money, we're getting refi money, and we are getting tax savings. And that is the definition of pro-life right there when it comes to money, folks. You're welcome.
Jake, you forgot about the whole concept with baby money soldiers. If you look at it from the
I thought it was great. Okay, screw you, Gino.
I like it.
I'm going to continue the whole idea because I want anyone to think of themselves, because this really comes down to the control and the responsibility aspect. Everyone listening to this is the general of their financial battlefield. That's what it is. You're the general. You are controlling your baby money soldiers. Every dollar that comes into your life is a baby money soldier. How do you direct that? Some of us use it for luxuries. Some of us use it for operating expenses. Some of us use it to save money. Some of us use it for education, some for charity. The idea is that you can control your money in any way. Once you understand that, there's hope. You can start creating a plan for yourself. And from there, Jake likes to talk about the game of risk where you're taking over properties, but you had spoken about life insurance. Well, some of your baby money soldiers, you're going to take them off the battlefield and put them into other vehicles. Some of them to have, like I said, life insurance has dual purposes. You're protecting yourself. You're creating that legacy that you need long term. And if you do have an opportunity like Jake and I did, we just closed 3 deals. I tapped in and had access to my cash value. So I unleashed those baby money soldiers onto the battlefield. You like that, brother, huh? So if you're seeing the whole picture, it's not just, like you said, linear, but you have to start with the foundation of being able to save some of those baby money soldiers and understanding that you have control of them. Do you need to go on 3 vacations? Do you need to buy all the jewelry? Do you need to have the 3 cars? If you want to, that's fine. But understanding, like Jake said, so importantly, you are killing them before they have the opportunity to grow and to multiply and to procreate. And that's the simple and honest and real way to talk about creating wealth in America. And people don't understand that. It's not complicated. The rules of money have rules. And if you're going to play football with a tennis racket, you're not going to win the game, basically. And it's the same thing with money.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's things that nobody talks about. There's a few things that I always laugh because all I do is talk about death and taxes. And I'm like, I should open a bar that's just called Death and Taxes, because it's like, let's just go have a drink. It seems like that's what I have to do to get people to loosen up and be okay talking about it. But it's reality, and I was ironically born in Switzerland, whereas, that's the money capital in the world. So they talk about death, taxes, and money all the time when I go back, and they're talking with their kids, and you learn a very different ethos about it. And it's fascinating to me how here everything is so taboo that is so critical, and if you're not talking about it, you shouldn't be doing it.
So, Jacqueline, why do you think it's taboo
Hold on, if you
here?
shouldn't be talking about it, you shouldn't be doing it?
If you're not talking about it, you shouldn't be doing it.
Elaborate on that.
That means you don't understand it. That means you're not okay accepting the energy force that you're entering into, and you're incongruent, and you're ashamed, you're embarrassed, it's all negative energy, and it's not going to come to you.
Say it one more time.
If you cannot talk about it, you shouldn't do it.
But that's the root of the that's like the root of the problem right now, right? Like nobody's talking. You said taboo though. I'm trying to
money, right? Money, death. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about what
Who's
do
they?
I like. People, Americans
Right.
do not talk about when I die. This is what.
Right, but you're saying if they're not doing it, they shouldn't talk about it, and that seems to be the root of the problem, right? It seems like you got to have the conversation first, right? Even if you're not doing it, so that you can eventually lean into it and do it.
Yes, you're proving my point. You're saying the alternative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you're hiding and when you're playing small, you're not going to be successful. Right. So if you can't talk about what you're doing,
it just sounded like what you were saying was discouraging the conversation almost, and that's why I was just trying to clarify. I got you.
No, yeah, I like what Jacqueline's actually you're saying. You're saying if you're not ready, don't go out and put $50,000 into crypto because you're going to lose it because you're not even prepared to do that. Start having the conversation, and to me, as an adult and having 6 children, I pride myself on teaching my kids and talking to my kids about investments. My 22-year-old son has 9 K1s. He's invested in 9 multifamily transactions. He's an accredited investor at the age of 22. That didn't happen by chance because he was lucky. It happened because he was 15 years old and he put $5,000 into one of our deals. And 7 years later, refied out multiple times. And I'm not going to take the credit for it because he did it.
I don't know. It sounds like you're doing a victory lap right now.
Okay, I sort of am. It feels great, brother. Because
it's a good victory lap. You should celebrate that.
As an adult, you impose your will sometimes on your children, and you're trying to teach them, and you have the conversation with them. He can talk about economic occupancy, owner draws, seller financing, all of the language, and your language becomes your experience. And if you don't talk to your children about it and become transparent with the mistakes that you made, then like you said, Jacqueline, this is all for naught. So I think educating the future generation is so important, and saying, let's have a conversation about money. It's not taboo. I think the reason, I would like to hear your reason why, but I think for me, the reason why people don't
nothing's
talk about
taboo on TV anymore, right? But we can't talk about money?
Except for money. and why is that, Jake? It's because they want to keep people in financial bondage. Why would you have...
You can talk about bondage on TV all day, but you can't talk about financial bondage.
Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? You're proving my point.
Yes. So let's talk about like the 18-year-old who's getting $300,000 in student debt and he's got a gender study degree. Not hating on gender study.
He's learning about bondage.
But brother, you ain't paying that back. You know what I'm saying? So, Jacqueline,
Depends. Depends. Could be OnlyFans. OnlyFans, and then they're on
Hey,
the money.
that's a way to create some baby money soldiers right there, right?
Oh, lots. I have a lot of fans in my repertoire that I'm advising. Yes.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
they're making tons of money. So then how do you start? Like, let's say I've got a pile of money.
You take
and
your
I'm ready to
clothes
go.
off and you get a camera, Gino.
That's you, brother. You can be an OnlyFans. I ain't going there. I want to know that now that I've accumulated that money, where are the next couple steps of me to start creating that wealth and start preserving the wealth? What do we do next?
So I always say you need to understand compounding interest, but you need to understand compounding interest not in the terms of making money, but how do you pay down debt? So when I bought my second property, I was able to pay my mortgage off in 4 years because I bought it right. And I could make enough money where I could pay almost 2 times the mortgage. I was paying more than 2 times the mortgage down using other people's money. And so then I was in 4 years, I was able to refinance it and get 5 for that one property. So now I had 6 rental properties, right? And I was pretty quick about it. I did it in about 4 years. So understanding debt and understanding how to stop the interest accruals. So student loans, you do an extra payment, you're going to pay it in advance. And so you're in a prepaid position, so they can't charge you interest. And so there's certain laws on certain lending on the right kinds of loans for student loans. So you want to refinance into a program that can do that. And so you want to make sure that you stop.
You can get a loan and prepay
student loans.
The student loan and not get charged interest?
Yep. That's how I paid mine off.
Can you get that money and not put it towards your student loans and invest it?
That's what I did. I bought my house.
Holy shit. I might need to go back to college right now.
My employer paid for my master's degree and I still took a loan out and I bought a property.
Shh, it might be illegal.
22. No.
Okay.
I don't work for them anymore.
Sounds illegal to me.
That was like 2 decades ago. I'm aging myself now.
Sounds like too good to be true, but it's one of those things where if you don't get educated and you don't understand, you may never be able to be tapped in. What we call it.
Hold on a second. I just want to lay this out real quick. Your employer paid for your education.
Yeah.
Then you got a loan.
You reimbursed me.
Yeah. Then you got a loan you didn't have to pay interest on if you make the payment in advance. And then you took that money and bought real estate.
Yeah.
I think the show's over with. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. I love this so much. This is great.
I learned money in college. Come on.
Yeah.
You got to apply what you learn in life. Otherwise, you're failing yourself.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
She is the money queen. I give her the nod. You are the money queen. That's amazing.
Thank you. I'm glad I got your approval, Jake. I really needed it.
I love this stuff.
I'm still waiting for his approval. He gave you your approval before he gave me his approval. That's not fair. What about me, brother? You don't love me?
You're the G daddy. It's nice.
Good. I got it. Jacqueline, we call that in baby money soldiers using mercenaries. Mercenaries are dollars that you're taking from a bank. You're paying for those dollars. Understanding that money is something. When I talk to kids about interest, it's just what money costs, and it's amazing how you're able to utilize that cost of money and actually velocitize it and put it into another asset. So you're making your assets work, and you're using somebody else's money to do that. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, I bought my first property also with a 0% credit card for the down payment.
That is just great. People are taking vacations with 0% credit cards. See the difference in the mindset?
There's
plenty of opportunities out there, folks, at the end of the day.
There's tons. And that's where people just don't think. They don't think outside the box. They're not creative. They're not, it's all understanding compounding interest. And it's not always about how do you get interest to make you more money, but also how do you get interest to give you access, right? And to help you pay to play. And, we stash away. I have two kids right now. They're 25 and they're making $14 million revenue. And I'm doing a big plan for them. And, they're like, oh, I want to take on this debt. I'm like, not yet. It's not the time, right? Like, let me get everything settled, let the dust settle. Let's figure out where the cards lay and the chips lay, and then let's scale you. Then you take the debt out, right? Because the more we scale, the more access we can get to an SBA loan, right? At 5%, they can turn around and lend on it at 12, 13, 14, 15%, right? And now they're in the money. And so it's one of those things, there's cadence and timing, and people want to rush, right? People are always in a rush. And sometimes, when you play chess, you don't rush. You kind of just study the playing field. You look at it. You think about it. If I do this, then this, then this, what happens? If I do that and that, then what happens, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand the money component. And so, 0% credit cards, I'm a huge fan, but you better be putting that If it's 21 months, you better be paying that every single month. You have to be disciplined. This is where discipline comes in, and, persistence and consistency. And, to Jake's point, the multi-millions I'm putting away in 401ks is so that we can start the second company, which is already in process. It's already in operation, but we can take the money, the multi-million dollars we're saving from paying Uncle Sam, we're going to roll it over tax-free, penalty-free. We're not liquidating it, you guys, but this is what the rich people do. They start a brand new C corporation with it. And now they're off and running with a whole new, because they want to buy an office and they want to buy real estate. And so we're going to use the money from one company. We're going to rob Peter to pay Paul, and we're not going to pay Uncle Sam. So then we're going to roll it over. And, that's how I started my business. I took my wonderful 401k because I was a good corporate citizen, and I rolled it over into this company. And now, I put it into marketing, I put it into a platform, I put it into things that were going to make me money, right? So you have to spend money to make money. And that's where you have to know when to let go and when to make peace with letting it go, knowing it's going to make me more, right? It's going to return. It always boomerangs. You got to send it out, and you got to release it and let go and love it and know and have faith it's coming back. And that's really the keys to life, and so for me, my family thought I was absolutely insane. They still call me batshit crazy, and they're like, you do things. I would never gamble. I'm like, it's not a gamble because I understand money, but so many people are gambling, right? Oh, crypto's in the money, it's up, put money in, right? You don't buy when it's high. You buy when it's low. When everybody's running, right? Warren Buffett, when everybody is greedy, be fearful.
This is my favorite quote. And this is the thing that's pissed me off so bad, because we slowed down during 21 and going into 22 in terms of our apartment buying, right? We've done one deal a month for the last 3 months because it makes sense now. But the market as a whole has slowed down, but we're sprinting. And it's like, why doesn't everybody see this? It's so bleeping obvious to me right now. And everyone's on the sidelines shitting their pants.
Right.
And so the other thing,
look at all the billionaires. I mean, in 8 months, one hedge fund bought $1 billion worth of single family homes in Vegas. Why? Because we have 2 sports teams coming, 3 production, maybe a 4th production company coming now. Buy.
Yeah. No, it was, I was out there 20 years ago, and I was just out there a couple weeks ago, and literally it's built all the way to the mountain, right?
Yes.
There's nothing left, right? It's totally filled in. You can't, go, you try to get a quarter of a mile, it takes a half an hour in a cab. It's just, it's nuts. It was definitely booming. But I wanted to go back to something that you were saying, and you're like, well, you got to be patient. You got to wait. I think one of the hardest things for these kids nowadays that are getting into business is they're conditioned on social media growing up. So it's immediate gratification. Like they're probably at such a disadvantage from people that didn't grow up with this shit, trying to understand that, because everything they do is immediate gratification. So I don't know how to sort of break the chain for these people coming up to this new generation. I think that's a huge hurdle that they're dealing with.
That is fascinating you said that. So I actually met the number 2 in Apple when I was doing an R&D tax credit study. And she told me, never use your phone more than 2 hours. Don't. It will change your biochemistry entirely. And she still had her flip phone. And she said, turn all the notifications off.
Apple. She just said, I don't know what position it is, but this is a high ranking person. It sounds like at Apple. Number 2 at Apple has a Motorola Razr because it's slick looking.
Well, dude, all the drug dealers,
Hold on, we got to hear
selling drugs.
She got to finish the point, though. I'm sorry. We got to finish this point.
No, but yeah, I mean, you're right. And so it's creating so now they're saying people are struggling to get into relationships because there's no longer that dopamine hit, because people are not willing to spend the time to get to know somebody and really willing to invest because they want that dopamine hit that they're getting on their phone. So when you look at people that are on dates, they're on their phones. And so it's really become the curse of our society. And she warned me. She said, you're 24. You're in here analyzing what I did, and you want to know why the intellectual property is worth what it's worth. She said, I'll tell you. I'm a psychological engineer. I'm a psychologist and an engineer. And I made this thing so addictive. And she is on millions of podcasts right now trying to reverse what she did, and she was like, it's very toxic to your brain chemistry, and it's going to mess up your dopamine, your oxytocin receptors, and it's going to create a ripple effect that we don't really understand right now.
We're seeing it play out.
No, we do understand. They do know. I mean,
society's nuts right now. It's scary to me, right?
It's wild. Yeah. But
I got a couple tips for folks too.
You look at Sweden just put laws in place that you cannot use your phone as a child. It has an auto on and an auto off now. There has to be an auto on and an auto off, and it can only be on for 2 hours, period.
Yeah, I got a couple tips for folks too that may be actionable just in my own experience. So I work from home. I'm in my home office right now. The phone rarely leaves my office. It's basically a landline. It has no social media on it whatsoever. I have the ability to access social media, but I got to log into the laptop. Okay, so I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's it's just as bad. But it creates barriers. You got to create barriers for yourself. I have kids 3,
2
6, and
phones.
9. There you go. There are 2 phones.
Separate.
My kids have never come close to sniffing a phone. Okay, they FaceTime their grandparents. That's the closest they get to this thing. Okay, kids not having phones, and so they're growing up in a totally different experience from all these other kids out there. So I think getting any social media apps off your phone. So if you're in public, you're not going to be a drone looking down checking this crap. Just keep it in the office. Keep the phone in the office as a landline when you're at home. Look, it's not perfect, but it's your point. I think it'll help break some of these bad habits.
Absolutely.
Jacqueline, before we go to the short answers, can you talk a little bit about the emotion of money? Because I think if you're looking at it from a logical way, it makes sense, everything you're saying. But there's so much emotion around money and people get washed away. And all of a sudden, when you have high emotions, you really, I don't want to say you have lower intelligence, but you really can't make thoughtful, insightful decisions by sitting back. You just get caught up in the moment and you make these unwise decisions. So talk about the emotional aspect, because your parents and your family are saying it. You're batshit crazy. Why are you the crazy one when you have the plan and they're looking at you and they're saying, well, you have all this success, but yet you're taking all these risks and all, but not really, because you're just going from a place of emotion and I'm going from a place of logic and just looking at money as a medium of exchange and a way to actually create impact. And that's not what I'm trying to work towards. I'm trying to work towards a result. Money is just the result. I'm trying to work towards opportunity. Money is just a way to get that opportunity. And I think they're just in the thralls of emotion.
Yeah, I come from a family where money defines you and they have none. So it's a conundrum. It is a big conundrum to grow up in because you attach your worth to money. And then, my father, bless his soul, he made it big 3 times and lost it all. And 9 out of 10 millionaires make it and then they go bankrupt in 4 years. And that was my father, but
Is that true? Well, that stat you just read aloud, is that really true?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Look at the people who win the lottery. They don't have it in about 5 years.
No, I get that. I get the sports people and all that, but that's a really
The
scary
IPO babies
statistics.
in the Bay Area. Ooh,
Yeah.
It is deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have financial advisors. They have certified financial planners.
I just assume that these people, because they're able to create something great, get it enough to create good, financial discipline for themselves because they're able to. I have never heard of, by the way. I have very little experience in California, so I didn't know that. But that's a surprising.
I think, Jake, a lot of the younger entrepreneurs that make money, they'll make money like Robert Kiyosaki with the Surfer wallet. He was 27 years old. He hit it big. And all of a sudden, he didn't know how to control that wealth or to grow that wealth or to preserve that wealth. So he ended up blowing it, right? Then he recouped himself, got back on the horse, and started making money that way.
And
so
I think it's like an endless thing. So the party is always going to go on. There's never going to be lean time. So you just can ball out, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's like what David Meltzer went through, right? I mean, he's got a fascinating story. He lost 9 figures, and just poof, gone, right? And he was, in the money, huge in the money, right? And that's the thing is, I think people get arrogant when they get money. There's so many emotions about money. It makes people feel powerful. It gives people an identity. It gives people and it's because, like, if you talk to me about money, my house it's a screwdriver. It is no different than a screwdriver I put in the wall when I'm hanging something or putting something up, drywall, whatever. It's no different. And people are like, how do you do what you do?
It's a tool.
It is. It is completely a tool.
Just wanted
it gives me absolutely no meaning, life, or anything, and I just did what I loved. And I'm a very right brain person stuck in a left brain world. So flipping came natural to me. And people were like, how did you get on HGTV? And I'm like, because, I just did what I loved and it came to me and they found me. I wasn't looking for them. And I always made a joke, hey, when I get put on TV, I'll leave my corporate job. And then I got put on TV and I was like, guess I gotta go, guys. It's time for me to go. And it was all during COVID, but it's one of those things like it's not it's not a blanket. It's not a part of my identity. I've taken all my money, and it's been at risk. I unfortunately married someone who was a rageaholic and made really bad decision on that one. And, when I got out, I didn't owe him hardly anything. I paid for his legal fees and that was it. He couldn't touch it, but I was a multimillionaire, and he thought he was gonna get half, and so it was like, good luck, it's not happening. And I wasn't emotional. I was very like, I'm not going to say a word. We're going to go through all this mediation, and 2 sessions before, I'm going to put my counterclaims and my separate property trust and everything in there. Good luck, and no amount of lawsuits, no amount of anything will touch my estate, won't be able to impact my estate. But I've taken all the cash and I've definitely gone all in, I definitely have, because there's some deals like what I'm doing here in Las Vegas. I'm buying the land 60% equity, just raw land. Why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't I? Like, that's not a gamble. I can literally turn around and get a loan and get back out, And so this is where people really get hicked up. My mom was always like, what do you do? Why are you doing what you're doing? And then when I left my job at Ernst & Young 7 years later, I was the head of international tax. I ran $10 billion in my P&Ls. I had 150 subsidiaries and I was doing 100 transactions a year, and I was in charge. I managed 26 tax rulings around the world, negotiating with the government. At 28, that's insane. And I was reporting in US SEC and I was reporting in France to a publicly traded oil and gas company. I wanted that oil and gas company relationship. I wanted to know those executives. That's why I took the job. And my money tripled overnight. My base pay tripled overnight. Now I had stock options. Now I had more, right? And the thing is it was, everything to me was calculated. When I interviewed at Ernst & Young, I told them, this is just a means to the end. I won't be working here when I'm 40, so don't put me partner track. Well, what did they do? They tried to put me partner track because I thought differently. I worked differently. They had people who were data entering these forms for 400 pages. I mail merged them and was done in a week. They were like, how did you do that? I'm like, are you kidding? I'm not going to sit here and data enter like a monkey. I am intelligent. Like, get out of here. That's an insult to my intelligence. I thought you were testing me. I thought it was a joke. I've always looked at life as a joke, and I've always looked at money as a joke. Like, we print money, guys. We print money. It's not, there's so much money. When you work with billionaires, there's so much money. It's incredible, and the first thing they will tell you is don't be emotional about money. It will not.
That's why the class warfare bullshit pisses me off so bad, because we're sending, billions, if not trillions of dollars around the world, and we're sitting here trying to demonize our own citizens when we could come together on things. But it's all about, we don't need to go down that road, but it's about division and bullshit.
The divisiveness is what keeps America where it's at. And that's when people have to stop looking at Democrat, Republican. They have to stop looking at poor versus rich. They need to say, hey, we are better together, and band together. Like, look at Gen Zers. I am super bullish on them. They've told corporate America, not doing it. I'd rather be in my mom's house, broke, figuring out a business. And now look at these kids, 25, making $13 million, $14 million a year in their first year in business, guys. Like, blows my mind. I'm like, go Gen Z. I am all behind you. I will be the wind in your sails. I'm here for you. I love it. I love the community. It's necessary, but I come from Europe where collective is very important. So,
Jake, before we go to the short answers, and go to the break, I want you all to listen to this quote, and it truly resonated with me. It says, money or power, it doesn't corrupt people, it reveals people. And that is so true for a lot of our habits. So if you think money is going to make you evil, then maybe you have a little bit of evil inside you once you get that money. I mean, you have the ability to control your emotions, control the way you react to once you receive that money.
You have money to go to therapy and fix it. Fix your trauma.
All right, guys, let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor. Now, we have had a great run in multifamily, going from 0 units to over $250 million in assets. That's over 2,000 apartment deals that we've been able to purchase through our framework, buy right, manage right, and finance right.
Now, Jake and we created the Jake and Gino community back in 2015. We launched our first book, Build Our Profits. And since then, our students have closed over 60,000 units. That's over $4 billion in assets they've been able to close over the last 6 years.
And that's why this community has been so successful. We call it results-based education, and we pour back into the community everything that we've learned on our journey from 0 to 2,000 units, and all our systems and scale that we use on our very own property management and investing companies.
Jake, I love that. It's not just education, it's implementation. So what I want you to do, click on that link down below, apply to work with our team, see how we can help you on your journey in multifamily.
All right, we are back now. We were talking about people that were blowing money, and I didn't want to overspeak you. I just wanted to make this point. So social media again. I'm gonna kind of hate on social media a little bit because ultimately there's this image, and it used to be you'd be watching a TV show, and the millionaire had the jet, the huge house, all this stuff, on and on and on, and it's exhausting to a certain point to upkeep all that stuff. The carry on it, the cash carry on it is very expensive. It's an image, and then you're trying to run a business, and you're trying to scale and systematize all that. However you may do it. One team member, two team member, three, whatever. Because it's to do it properly, it takes a lot of bandwidth, and it takes a lot of ongoing cash. And there's market cycles, especially depending on the business that you're in. So there might be really good times. Everyone was loving 21, 22, and now things are down a little bit. So if you're not planning accordingly, right, you could be putting yourself in a position where now you're going in the red because you're living beyond yourself. Social media, inflates all of that, because the minute you get on there, your neighbor all of a sudden is, oh, I just bought a new Ferrari. This guy just, bought a plane, and this, that, and the other thing. So it creates this constant cycle of competition and keeping up with the Joneses. And I think people get $1 million and they think, well, that's me now. And I need to live that lifestyle. And I think back to, I used to love Jose Canseco growing up as a kid, right? He's hitting all these home runs, dating Madonna, driving the Ferraris. Dude's broke now, right? So but America creates this image of the millionaire superstar athlete. He was doing everything he was told to do. It just wasn't sustainable, right? He made money for probably, good money for 5 years, blew it, and then it ran out. And so I think, we have this image of what it's supposed to look like to be rich. And the alternative to that is the millionaire next door. I don't know if you've read that. Have you read that book?
Yes.
Fucking love that book. I love Coors Light. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not going to drink champagne if you give it to me, and that's okay. I'm just saying, be okay with it, right? Just
I
understand
think that goes back to my point about money's like a bad girlfriend or a bad boyfriend. If you don't give it attention, it's going to leave.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And if you give it too much attention, it might leave as well, right? So let's take the average person out there that may be making like $100,000 a year, probably $1,000 a month in car payments, a couple $1,000 in the bank. What do you say to that person? Is it, do you maybe they got like $30,000 in debt? I'm sure this is like a very typical profile for a lot of Americans. What's the place to start for them? And we can look at it through the lens of whatever you want, like Richest Man in Babylon or anything. But I'd love to just hear: do you kill the debt first? Do you put some money aside? Like how do you take that person?
I kill the debt unless it's good debt. I kill the debt. If you have
credit card debt,
car loans are awful.
Yeah.
Anybody who has a car loan, you're dead. You're already
I can't believe the size of these car loans though, because so I always, when I was in corporate America, I had a company car and maybe a $200 car payment for my wife, right? I think the average person is probably carrying like $1,000 in monthly carry on these fucking cars. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. So you attack that. Do you sell them? Do you get new cars? You downgrade the car?
Get rid of any debt that's over 8%.
In rate,
unless
interest
it's student
rate.
loan debt, mortgage debt, whatever. But student loans, mortgage debt, that's it. Kill it. Get rid of it. If you have a car that's $1,000 a month, are you kidding me? That's $36,000. Right? Yeah. That's in 3 years you could buy a property with that. What are you doing? Like, you'll spend the money for a car for your image. Like, people laugh at me because I drive a Lexus. My Lexus is 11 years old. I don't care.
Dude, you got a fancy Toyota. It's the smartest thing. It's not going to break. It's great.
It doesn't. I've made 0 repairs, only maintenance on it. So to me, I'm like, you can laugh at me all day, but I'm about ready to go buy a $7.9 million parcel of land that I'm paying 3.5 all day. Guess who did that? A student of mine in my community brought me that land. Gonna make them a millionaire. Gonna partner them in. You want to be my acquisitions agent? I don't care. You know what I mean? But this is how I'm going to make as many millionaires, right? I know when a deal is a deal. I'm going to take it and I'm going to show you. You're going to be part of it. You're going to walk the walk with me because I didn't get here on my own, and I didn't do this on my own. I walked the walk with partners at Ernst & Young, managing Fortune 1 all the way to 1,000, all the way to incubator companies with the VCs and the private equity groups. So for me, it's like you have to walk the walk with people and you have to be humble enough to listen. and but
I
to your
like the
point, get
Lexus,
rid
by the
of
way, too.
everything.
They handle well. We had one back in the day, the RX 350, great car. I know Gino had one too. I'd stick with it. But I think you probably start killing the credit card debt, right? Because it's probably
Yeah.
higher. I still can't
Anchors,
believe that shit's
whatever
not
is an
illegal.
anchor. If you look at what you're paying your money out to and it's like, I have to make this payment, it's an anchor. It is
I don't know how
draining
they get
your
away
energy.
charging 30%, 20%, and it's not like, we get demonized as landlords, but like these people are charging 20, 30%. It's insane. So kill the debt, downgrade the car and start to create a surplus, right? It's
Yeah.
probably not much more complicated than that. Is that
Also,
fair?
take your paycheck. If you're not like, I didn't want to change my lifestyle when I left college and went to Ernst & Young, and I was traveling all the time with Ernst & Young. So I didn't really have a lot of overhead, which is why I bought the condo, and I started with a 2-bedroom and I rented a room out, and I was never home. She was never home. We worked at the firm. It was great, and so it's one of those things like.
And she was paying your principal for you.
Absolutely. So for me, it was one of those things where, you've got to put yourself in an up cycle, right? And in order to get in an up cycle, you have to, anything that's draining your energy, anything that's a chore, a task, sometimes student loan debt is going to help you. Sometimes mortgages are going to help you. All of that is going to get you in an up cycle. So leave those, but learn how to pay them down faster. Learn how to get, and all of my homes, they make me money. When I'm not home, they're rented, and my family thinks I'm nuts. And I'm like, but I have a ton of homes and I get to live the way I want to live, like I'm not anchored anywhere, which is how I like to be. I'm a nomad. I like to go travel. I like to adventure. I like to see things. And that's just the lifestyle that I like. And that's works for me, but I don't pay bills. I don't have bills. My biggest bill is marketing, and it drives me insane.
I hate marketing so much.
It's a necessary evil, though. I understand.
It's the worst thing ever. Marketing sucks. I think it's like marketing than attorneys, right? Like, I don't know which is they're like right next to next. The funny thing is we're on a real estate show. We haven't even really talked real estate. We love multifamily. It's really all we do. We have a couple raw land deals as well. But the intention is to develop and whatnot. So, just tell us about your portfolio a little bit, because I just, I'm passionate about this, and so it sounds like you got some houses that you rent out. It sounds like you're doing some land. You more diversified than that, or is that sort of the playground?
I'm into pet projects right now. I'm into like this. This is my second mountain. I just do things that I think are fun. So I started with a condo, then I went to a duplex, then I bought a building in San Francisco. In between the duplex and a building in San Francisco, I found a certified public accounting fund that bought multifamily, and I put $100,000 away.
A CPA fund that's buying multifamily.
Yeah.
That's an oxymoron right there, because most CPAs
I didn't think they were into business.
Investors, so that's actually pretty good. That's actually impressive.
That's really cool.
Well, remember, we work with REITs. We worked with, like, I was in a different league, right? I'm not like your everyday CPA. I was with like the billionaires. So, they were like, oh, we're going to be developing blah, blah, blah. Four Seasons. We're going to be building.
It makes total sense, and I love it. I just like a lot of my interactions with CPAs is like the opposite of that,
correct.
Right? So
yeah, I'm not a typical. Yeah. And so, so I started with syndications. I did 7 years in a syndication, and that's how I made enough cash flow to leave my corporate job. In the middle, I converted a building in San Francisco into condominiums. And that's the property that got me on HGTV on my one in Las Vegas, the flip I did here, my luxury flip. And I did luxuries. I love luxury flips. I'm actually a burr. I didn't realize it was a burr. I just lived in them for 2 years because I didn't want to pay taxes. And then I was like, I'll sell them in 5, and upgrade. So that's kind of my model before it was a thing. I've been doing it since I was 22. So I just kept upgrading and upgrading. And then obviously you make so much money. You're like, okay, now I got to get in commercial. And then in 2020, I sold everything. I was like, I'm going all cash. We have to have an implosion. It has to be coming. There has to be.
You're just a hair early.
Ready. I was, but it's okay. I'd rather be 1 year early.
And I'm not criticizing that. It's great.
Yeah. But look at it. I was investing from 2011. And so I bought my first property was 2007. And then I bought my second one in 2011. And then I was just like, bam, 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 all the way up, So it's like, I needed to get out. It's like, let's go to cash.
It could have been worse. You could have been a hair late, and it could have been worse than what you got, right? So
yeah, I find gratitude. Just be grateful. Be grateful for where you're at, and pull the trigger. You want to, again, sell high, buy low. And then I just moved into storage, and I moved into, before it was a thing. And now I'm doing like an experience park, I guess you'd call, in Henderson, where there's like no experience. There's like nothing out there except 50,000 homes and 51% upper class. So I'm like, okay, let's bring some experiences. Like, you know,
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Like parks, like things where families can come, where there's food, where there's a hangout, where there's water, where there's, you know, it's an experience. It's like you come, you go, you enjoy the moment. Kind of like a boardwalk, but we don't have water.
Send me a picture.
When it's done, I will send it to you. Yeah, I just do things that are fun, that I'm like, look, there's 35 million cars passing by that land a year. If I get 10% at $50, I'm in 9 figures. Duh.
Nice.
I'm taking it.
Please let us know where folks can get a hold of you.
Oh, I'm on social media, Money Queen Jacqueline. You can find me at therealestatewealthsummit.com. We're having our event actually in 10 days. 10 days, we're having our event. It's virtual, 100% virtual. We're basically anywhere and everywhere that you want to be. Just find us on social media, JacquelineMatoza.com. I'm pretty easy to reach.
Jacqueline Matoza, a.k.a. the Money Queen.
The Money Queen.
Born in Switzerland, where it's not taboo to talk about death and taxes, where it's actually a thing, where they actually enjoy talking about it. She moves to California, and then all of a sudden, like, no one's talking about it here. And her family is defined by how much money they make. And that is what her money persona, her money blueprint is. That's what her relationship with money is early on. And anybody listening to this right now, I want you to do 2 things. The first thing is to understand, go back and try to figure out what your relationship with money is. And the second thing is, if you're married or if you have a spouse, significant other, have the relationship with that spouse and see what their relationship is, because that's where we have money issues. Just because Jake and I love to buy properties and love to invest, our spouses may have different blueprints, may have different understandings. So try to get on the same page or try to have empathy with the person about their relationship with money. And I think as Jacqueline got older, got into the corporate world, started to see that there's a box. Most people aren't even inside the box. She wanted to be outside the box and do things a lot differently. And understanding that tax is such an important component of, money. My father always used to say, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And if you understand that and you understand how to use the tax code, it's written to stimulate behavior. And the behavior is to really try to create jobs and to try to create value. And the more of that you can do, the more of money you can keep. And I love the fact that she's not only into real estate, she's into oil and gas, she's into whole life, she's into so many different ways and strategies. But before you jump on the bandwagon and start going, you really need to create that strong foundation. Create the strong foundation. And as you're creating the foundation, I would all challenge you to go out, look Jacqueline up online, and start becoming money queens yourselves, because that's what we need. We need more money queens in this world.
Well said, Gino.
Did you guys see that they just announced it's like $4.4 million to live the American dream, the 1950s American dream now?
No.
Net worth? Yeah.
Wow.
Well, someday, Gino, you'll get there. Anyways, gang, as always, we believe in buying deals for the long term. Think in decades. I'm Jake. He is the G Daddy. We make it happen. Hey, that's the Money Queen. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jake.